I'm very happy to be here with you today and introduce you to my dear friend, who is a very special lady. She's one of the kind with a huge heart, bringing something which we are not aware probably. Let me introduce to you today my first guest in this new series of I Care podcast, dear Jenna Pinkstone. And she is, as she is saying about herself, recognize meaningful synchronicities in 3D for avatars lives, and use it as breadcrumbs to follow, to find the deeper meaning why we are here. And with this very short introduction to the magnificent life of Jenna, I welcome you to this beautiful, beautiful moment of co-creation. Thank you, Jenna. I'm very honored that you are here. Thank you so very much for joining our conversation. And hello.
Hello, Alexandra. Thank you. You have calmed my nervous system just being in your presence. It's a gift. I thank you for having me.
I'm very honored. I'm very, very humble. Thank you so very much. So let's start from the first question. It's very, very special to my heart. Yes. So could you tell us a little bit what mattered the most in your life right now?
Wow. I've been doing a deep dive into this as we speak. And I think right before we hopped on to this, we were talking about the divine timing of that.
Yes.
And I tell people that I was raised in a family who we always were taught to worship at the altar of science and education.
Yes.
And we did not, even my grandparents, it went back generations of educators and school teachers and scientists and people that were very, very much rooted in this 3D world of understanding how the properties of matter work and trying to understand that which is quantifiable.
Mm-hmm.
And this, I went on to get my degree in anthropology at Texas State. And for the most part, I was a pretty good student, but I would find myself always daydreaming from the time I was a child. And even I remember in first grade as a 6-year-old learning to read and to write. And I remember closing my eyes and having these experiences that were not in the 3D, that were not rooted in the 3D. They were not, I couldn't really describe them to anyone. And it would get me into trouble in the 3D, that I call it the 3D, the world in which we all interact in simultaneously together, right? And that which we see and sense with our physical senses, right? And I was pretty, I guess you could say, a very typical, leading a typical human life up until my younger brother, he took his own life in 2015.
I'm so sorry.
Yes, that was, if back to your question, what it was the most meaningful, what was the most, I guess, that which spawned an epiphany for me. This would be it. This would be the moment.
Okay.
And it happened, I was 30 years old and he was 20 years old. We were 10 years apart. And this sent my family, who is very rooted in the 3D, where my brother no longer resided, it sent us all into an upheaval of turmoil and confusion where we couldn't understand where he had gone or what had happened, and we did not have any framework of understanding any of these concepts for, you know, what was to come of him and what was to come of us. And this mortality began to get explored more deeply. And it wasn't long before, I mean, I took a deep dive into multiple rabbit holes to try to understand this because it was important to me. And this sent me into, I think you call a dark night of the soul.
Okay.
Where I needed very much to understand where my brother was, and I needed to understand where I was going. And it wasn't long before I started to receive messages from him from beyond the veil.
Mm-hmm.
And I reluctantly shared all of these experiences with my mother in the beginning stages, but it's come to pass that now she is receiving messages from him as well. And this was something that we were not privy to in our family. We're learned individuals. We take our, you know, our education very seriously, but this was an education that we were receiving of a very different kind.
Yes.
And it has progressed and it has transformed me in a multitude of ways that I could go on many trajectories, but it has inspired dreamscapes and understandings of where I came from before. And I was tuning into your conversation with Eva and your dreamscape experiences, and that was just simply magnificent, just listening to both of you have that conversation. And it brought up memories for me. And I've realized that I am meant to be interacting with others who are, many of which are lost in this 3D plane, much like I was, lost in trying to understand all of the quantifiable things, and realizing that there is an extrasensory self that can be explored, and many of us don't even scratch the surface during our finite human avatar lives.
Yes. How would you, that's brilliant. That's absolute. And thank you so very much for this open heart conversation. What brought this joyful moment, even after all those passing of those traumatic moments of your life? What brought the joy to your heart? Or how did you deal with it?
Yes. How did I come to recognize that joy was there to be had in all of this sorrow? Yes. Great question, man. You're sending me into inner explorations today, Alexandra. I love this. So I know that before 2015, I was what they would call I don't know if you have this expression are you in Sweden? You're in Sweden?
I'm in Poland. Eva is in Sweden.
You're in Poland. Okay. Eva is in Sweden. You are in Poland. Yes. Okay. I don't know if you know the expression barefoot hippie.
Yes, I know.
Okay.
I know.
Wonderful. This was me also before 2015. I didn't even own like a smartphone before 2015. Yes. My husband and I, we've been together for almost, I think, 20 years now. And we would jump in the river out here in Central Texas. We would walk everywhere. We would be in nature. And we were very much proud of our not plugged in life. And I would get on Facebook occasionally to share pictures with family, but I was not integrated there. After my brother passed, and he and my family come from Houston, and I'd come back to Central Texas, where my husband and I live. I realized how very much isolated I felt. No one in my community knew that he had died, and I had reverted inward, and I did not feel called to interact with anyone outside of my home. And I was alone, and I was pregnant with my second child, and I had my daughter at home with me who was 3, and it was isolating. It was very scary. There were moments of I did not know if I could do this. And this pain sent me seeking into the virtual landscape for answers and for communion with others. And it wasn't long before I intersected, by way of a mutual friend, that a psychic, a woman who was very adept at tuning into the spiritual atmospheres of others. And I received my first psychic session from her. And this, I knew innately, I knew intuitively at this moment that I needed to go deeper here because of the reconciling, the healing that this brought forth from in my experience into my orbit. And I became her virtual assistant, and I began helping her in her business. And I had a couple of nervous breakdowns in my own corporate jobs that I could not operate out there at that time. And that sent me on the trajectory of exploring the virtual landscape and all that it had to offer. And so I came at the online world with this fresh set of eyes that I believe others had been plugged into for a decade or more. And I believe my fresh set of eyes, it was a refreshing reprieve for many whom I showed up for as a virtual assistant. Many different kinds of spirit-led entrepreneurs, soulpreneurs, because I was able to dive deeply and just find their work delicious. And I was able to use my own, I guess you could say, formalized training and to integrate that into their deep work in a way that was valuable to them, and it was meaningful for me. And this was where I was able to access joy again, joy and meaning, and a deep resonance for what my life is supposed to be about, and what I'm supposed to be interacting as and with whom and about what.
That's fascinating. That's absolutely fascinating. And I admire your strength, your courage. Yes.
Thank you.
That you found it in yourself, and you open yourself up also for the guidance. Yes. Divine timing, absolute divine timing. So if you could give an advice, right, about a rapid transformation for others.
Yes.
What would be, with your experience? Yes.
My experience of rapid transformation.
Yes.
Transformation it's never something that's easy to undergo. One of my clients, her branding was the butterfly.
Wow.
And that was actually integrated into the title of her coaching program.
Yes.
And the butterfly, as you know, it begins as this caterpillar that scoots around, you can liken it to that of a human avatar 3D life just here on the surface of planet Earth, right? And it has a very cyclical existence of eating and growing and, you know, inching along on leaves. And it's simplistic and it's beautiful, but it's not all that's possible for this organism. It's not even all that is intended for it in this existence. But many of the, after the chrysalis is created, woven around this body, many of these caterpillars, they don't ever emerge from the chrysalis. This is a painful process of transformation where your entire light body, even at times your 3D body, it goes through a rapid transformation. I myself, I lost 70 pounds after I had this sudden awakening. After giving birth to 2 children, even the process of childbirth can be a metaphor, an analogy of you're never the same after this experience, right? And it's not something that you enter into lightly. It's something that inspires anxiety and fear at times. And what I would say, my advice would be, is to surge forward even in the face of that fear and anxiety, because the alternative is always worse. You want to exit that chrysalis. You want to emerge in your truest, most beautiful essence of all that you are meant to be in this world.
It's absolutely wonderful what you are saying. And I love this metaphor, the butterfly. Yes, we all know about it, but when you put it, it makes sense. It truly makes sense. Yes, the cocoon,
Absolutely.
the crystalline, the 3D releasing. I've been there. I've done it myself. I know it. But don't you think that we are moving very, very fast into the 3D and beyond and back and beyond? It's like a constant transformation. At least it is my experience, beyond and back, and then being in the heart, yes, being within, yes, for a moment for yourself. And then I can speak for myself, but I can share more with others when I find this center, yes, or the cocoon, let's say, the cocoon, yes.
Yes. What are you saying when you revert back inward into
Yes,
yourself, out,
yes.
like, I completely agree with
So
that.
in other words, what I'm saying is like I'm giving myself time, yes, to
Yes.
to not to explore, but be in the cocoon of peace. Yes, be in this cocoon of I love myself, be in this cocoon of of my vibration, of my frequency, yes. Yes, and then
Absolutely.
allowing to this butterfly, which is birthing, yes, within. Yes.
Yes.
To take
Absolutely.
another form or another. It's like you know, as you said, as we were talking before, yes, the avatar form. Yes. I'm super
The
fascinating about this avatar and the star seeds and ascension and all about it. Yes. So, what is for you the avatar? How would you describe it for us?
I love that you asked me this question, because when I was tuning into your recent chat with Eva about the dreamscape,
Yeah, crazy
I
dreams I had. Sorry.
your experiences of embodying these other beings on other planets, this is something that I too have experienced.
Mm.
And these avatars, I mean, you saw the movie Avatar,
Mhm.
right? The movies. I haven't seen the new one. My kids went and saw it, but the concept, the very concept of moving, and there's many other TV shows and movies now that are they're speaking to this concept of
Mhm.
our consciousness, which is
Mhm.
something that lives on after our human body
Mhm.
wastes away. It
Yes.
goes onward to other realms, to other dimensions. It has always been here and it will never die.
Mhm.
But this avatar is an experienced embodiment that is it's finite. It will not last forever. And this avatar is that which can die. It's not you, but it is an opportunity for you to be infused into an experience. And this is what I see as the human avatar experience on planet Earth, that we are all embodiments of. We are all simultaneously experiencing this together as one, while individually separate in and of ourselves.
Isn't that like creating the other version?
The other version. Tell me more.
The other version of yourself?
Yes.
I remember lately Arcturianus says, you are free to choose. So, and I heard it from Bashar as well, that you are creating your experience. So you are, in other words, you are choosing who you want to be in the next moment. And the next moment can be tomorrow, can be today, or can be, in a year time, yes? But you are choosing in this moment who you wish to be.
Yes, absolutely. Growing up, I wanted to be a busty blonde Barbie looking lookalike. That was what I wanted to be as an adolescent. And there was nothing that was going to get me that, save a whole bunch of plastic surgery, which was really not it was not in the works. And thank goodness for that. But it was, this as a 13, 14-year-old growing up in the 90s of the United States, the Southern United States, this was the embodiment of beauty that I wanted. I very much wanted to inhabit this human avatar experience, right? So I would say, yes, we do, and we can, and we should create our experience in every given moment, every living moment of this embodiment. But we chose this body to come to Earth. I believe very strongly that we choose the avatar that we come to Earth to embody for this time. And some of that experience that we are meant to have, that we choose, is to meet with the resistance of, we get here and we have that amnesia of actually choosing this, and that resistance is there to teach us something deeper about ourselves, that we're not ever going to be that. We didn't choose to be that when we came here, and something about us wanting something different, there's some deeper wisdom to be had there if we explore it further.
So let's explore how you see, Jenna, how you see spiritual community in this ever-changing paradigms.
How spiritual community. This is something very dear to my heart. This is something that I truly believe it saved my life at one point in time. When I very much needed to not feel isolated and not feel abandoned, not feel betrayed. I had all of these anguishes, within me, that I truly believe that in interacting in a community of individuals who feel called to work with you, or called to interact or have an energetic exchange, what's really happening here is we are gazing, as we interact, into a mirror for our own inner exploration. But what that does, as you beautifully put, whenever you go inward into that cocoon, into that inner exploration to find the peace within yourself, what magically transpires is you ignite this awareness, this wisdom, this recollection, this epiphany in these others who are energetically harmonious with all it is that you are exploring on that inner terrain. And this is I don't know what I would do without it, truly. I find so much value, so much meaning in my energetic exchanges with my spiritual community that is, it's shape-shifting and changing. I heard it likened almost to an open air market one time where, you know, people in the virtual landscape, people, soulpreneurs, they want to, you know, they call them leads. They want to gather more leads, gather more followers, gather more subscribers, and they get triggered or upset whenever people leave their orbit of their own volition.
Mm.
And it's like, this is an open air market. We are in service. And there's going to be times when, you know, for whatever reason, it's nothing to do with you necessarily. It has everything to do with their shifting energy, that they are going to feel called to enter other orbits. And like an open air market, we are here in service. And there will be others that frequent and move into our space to experience what that energetic exchange is like with us. And then they will likely move on to other realms, while others, new people that bring new experiences and new insights for us, will move into our realm. And it is very fluid and very natural. And it's a beautiful process. And I think it's very necessary for humanity to be engaging in this way that we are right now.
Jenna, I see you are living your purpose. You are living your excitement. Is there anything else which I haven't asked you about your excitement, about your passion? Yes, because I see you smiling. I really see you, you know, in this moment. Yes. What
Oh,
is the
just, I
passion?
hope.
What is the excitement?
I think that's, you're touching on something that I'm here to do. This is my service. This is my divine service. Just as you have yours, in that you're tapped into these other realms, and you are building bridges for others to tap into them as well. And my service is very centered around igniting that joy, igniting that excitement, and not losing track of it for soulpreneurs, or simply you know, sojourners into further explorations of self-discovery. And that we can get bogged down in that 3D density of, you know, am I doing it right? You know, is this where my path is supposed to lead? Why is this outcome not happening? You know, that you know, I know that I'm supposed to be here for this purpose. We become very convoluted in our brainscape, that it becomes, we disconnect from that joy and that excitement, that's truly the anchor that we need to reconnect with, so that all of it really does come together in this integral way. I was reading an article this morning about Taoism, and one concept that really stuck out to me was the concept of Wu Wei. And I remember learning about this in my Eastern Asian religions class. But Wu Wei is the concept that action without trying, all of that trying, all of that exertion, all of that divine masculine energetic force, it's very important to have a balance where there's so much emphasis on it. In our world of humans, we put a lot of emphasis on the divine masculine and the power that it wields. And I'm not discounting its power, certainly, but without that balance of the divine feminine, of allowing oneself to receive all of the abundance of energy that is actively flowing and fluid all around us. And if we open ourselves like that of a vessel, we will see how effortless these things that we are envisioning in our mind's eye will come to pass. And that Wu Wei it's a beautiful way of really tapping into that we're able to we're able to sync with that divine will, and we're able to just simply allow, while we have a vision and that balance between the divine masculine and the divine feminine, it creates that balance and that harmony of divine will.
I absolutely feel it, and I love it what you are saying. And I heard today expression. Someone says the higher goddess. Yes, and it
Ooh.
was so pure. I mean, the girl was saying, I am connecting with my higher goddess, and I was like, it's so pure, it's so beautiful. I mean, so honest. Yes, I mean.
Yes.
Yes, very beautiful. May I ask you, could you tell us, please, who you work with? Who you work with?
Oh, I work with so many people, Alexandra, and they're
Tell
changing
us
all the
about it. I'm
time.
super excited to,
Yes.
yeah, tell us.
Some of them I won't mention by name, simply because there have been things. I mean, I've not been on this journey long. I'll
Yes,
be humble and it, sharing that. And I know that some of these people that were very integral in my early stages of becoming and of embodying that which is aligned with my life. Some of, through rapid transformational
yes,
processes, there are times when people, they fall away out of our orbit. I'm sure you've experienced this
yes,
too.
yes.
That doesn't discount the inherent value that and the love that I have for these people. I know that when Eva and I intersected, one of the people that I was working with, that it had to come to a very quick halt, was Valerie Novikov. And we were actively working towards getting a oracle card deck created for his beautiful energetic artwork.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure if you know of him, but he used to live in Russia.
Okay.
And because of the difficulty, political and otherwise, there was this work that we were so deeply engaged in together. It had to come to a halt,
Mm-hmm.
because of our country's dissonance between each other.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a painful thing for me to go through.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't even a year ago that happened. But we've recently re-intersected, just like that open air market that I was describing. I'm learning to trust that these processes,
Mm-hmm.
um they are happening in divine timing, and I'm not in control. This is
Mm-hmm.
not a one woman show by any means, and it is co-creative by our collective, and yet we are all merely vessels for a divine will to flow through us. And those of us who are open to that, it transpires so much more effortlessly. Um, I'm working with a vast assortment of different soulpreneurs, some
Mm-hmm.
in the coaching world, others who are authors and poets, and some who are seers and travelers and like sojourners into other realms. And we many of us are engaged in a mastermind right now. That this was the first time that I tried this out, and I actually tried to shelf it and say I'm not doing that anymore. But like divine will does it, I got all of these messages that no, this is supposed to happen. And lo and behold, we have a group of 9 of us who are actively engaged on a weekly basis of interacting in the virtual landscape, and then bringing it to a more intimate setting with each other, and how it is we aim to wield our expression by way of that harmonious divine masculine and divine feminine integrations, you might say.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a whole bunch. I've had a lot of issues with niching down because I really do love working with a vast assortment of different perspectives and people. This speaks to me.
This is I'm simply speechless. I mean, you're doing such a marvelous work, yes, helping others, yes, and finding the joy and finding this, actually, as you're saying, this teaching, yes, it's fascinating. What would be your advice, just for example, if someone is at the beginning of the spiritual journey, yes, is a, say, a clairvoyant, yes, or card reader, yes, the spiritual teacher, what would be your first advice, or what would you ask first? What would you ask this person first, so to help them on their journey?
That's a great question. That's an excellent question. I'm going to have to kind of venture into what I call my own human avatar trajectory experience, right? We remember, you and I'm sure you remember yourself at the beginning of this journey that you are on. And it's like what we have to do in that journey inward, right? We have to go back into that cocoon for a moment, and we have to kind of merge our awareness of our conscious self into how we felt in that moment and what that experience was like. And you can do it. I find that it's its own extrasensory gift
It
to
is.
do this. It takes energy to do it also, but it's and someone like me, whenever I fall out of alignment, I like to venture outward from myself and interact with here and go and interchange with this group, and leave all of my stuff, and then I feel very scattered and frazzled and disengaged with who it is I am and what it is I'm doing, and I lose sight of my own identity. I think this is actually an experience many of us have whenever we are running from something on the inside. And I would ask them, what is it that you don't want to look at? What is it that you don't want to face? What is it and then if they didn't have an answer to that, because those are kind of obscure questions, right? I would say, what is it that makes you mad? There's a lot that people are mad about out in the world today, a lot that makes people very angry or very sad. And we would tap into what that is, what it is that broils them. And I know that in discovering the different frequencies of emotion, anger is that frequency. Forgive me if let's see, it's like it's a frequency that is right before awareness, right? Whenever we are ascending in those frequencies up to the ultimate frequency, up in the higher realms, is oneness. But the one, if it's like each one is a portal to the next. And if your intention is to make that ascension, then tapping into anger or tapping into sorrow, tapping into that which causes that dissonance, that embroiling within you, it's going to lead you into that portal of awareness. If you dive deeply and fearlessly, and you don't shy away from it, and you don't run from it, and you don't try to reallocate your energy elsewhere in avoidance of that, and looking deeply at that, I've seen many who have, even in exchanges on comments of Facebook posts, where I will ask these questions, and at first they will become angry at me, right? And initially, early in my journey, I would have confrontation, run away from that. But what I've found is that if I root myself solidly and I make them very aware that I am there with them, and I I empathize with this pain that they are feeling, and I'm not going anywhere. I'm right here with you while you get through this. And there are incredible energetic exchanges that inspire rapid transformations in the virtual landscape in doing so. And I've been very blessed to be someone who has served as a mirror for these folks to gaze deeply into themselves.
It's very profound what you said. It's very profound, Jenna. It's very profound.
I'm sure you've had similar experiences in your beautiful group.
Absolutely. And yes, in my groups as well. But it's always the first question which I'm asking myself, yes? Is it okay for me? Yes.
Yes, of
Is
course.
is it for me? Yes. Do I care? Yes. Do I care? And the next morning, let's say, I like to give myself this credit of doubt. Yes. If we are talking about it, yes, that maybe I'm not aware in this moment what is happening. Yes. Because it's very easy to jump in the conclusion that something happening for a reason. So it must be a reason, or this or that. Yes. What I like to do, or with the clients, yes, give this time like a week or so, yes, to process all those informations, yes. Especially because in these new energies, in these new frequencies which we are living in, yes, everything, as we said, yes, and you confirm it, everything is happening. The transformation is happening so rapidly, yes.
So fast.
So even allow the body, yes, to absorb all those new informations, yes, even our brain processes, yes, our heart processes, and there's another paradigm, as you beautifully put it, yes. Give ourselves this moment to process. What I found, it was completely new for me, yes, as I was facing myself like, okay, Alexandra, right? I gave myself this moment to discover something else. And I found the sound bath, yes, the singing bowls, yes.
Yes.
And it was a huge surprise for myself. I don't remember what was the frequency, yes, but was very grounding, very earthy, and very beautiful. And I was working on something, right? And suddenly I felt I need to lay down, right? I have to lay down. That's it, right? I love it. And I slept for 4 hours in the morning, yes, when I was, very well rested, yes, after my 2 coffees in the morning, right? I slept for 4 hours and I woke up, I got up, and I was completely different person. Yeah.
Yes, I have a theory about what happened there.
Timelines.
Yes. We're integrating like so much information.
Yes. And it's
so
happening.
much.
It's happening.
And you are extrasensorily, if that's a word, acute enough to realize when you need to lay down, it's because your crystalline body or your light body, it needs some time to integrate these codes that it's been saturated with.
I love this conversation. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Love this conversation. Yes, I know.
The important piece of, I mean, that self-love that you engaged in that moment, it's actually up-leveling the planet in the collective in a really meaningful way, because whenever you become a frequency holder for those higher timelines, those higher I mean, those higher echelons
Mm-hmm.
of dimensional awareness, because
Mm-hmm.
that's what you're doing whenever you integrate these codes in. And
Mm-hmm.
when you become a frequency holder for that, and you are an embodiment of that for others to energetically become aware of, they are able to meet you where you are at. They are able to match and harmonize their unique frequencies with yours. So it's
Mm-hmm.
important work for planet Earth. And I love it. I actually take very frequent naps. I told you I have kind of a hyper personality, but whenever it's time, I know when it's time, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
able to lay down for hours. And one of my inner explorations actually took place in a dreamscape where during I think it was like a 30-minute to a 1 hour nap. I was
Mm-hmm.
not out for very long, but I went to, I guess it was a parallel timeline to this one. I'm not convinced that it's not still happening somewhere simultaneously to this now moment. But
Mm-hmm.
I was a different creature on a different planet.
Mm-hmm.
This is what gave me the idea about Avatar, like that we
Mm-hmm.
are avatars, because
Mm-hmm.
I looked down at my hands and they were not my hands.
Yes.
I looked at my body. It was a different kind of body. It was a creature I had never seen before, and I haven't seen it on the internet either. It was,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was profound. I was on a planet where there were two suns shining through a
Mm-hmm.
forest of trees that didn't look like anything like trees here on planet Earth. There was a
Mm-hmm.
spectrum of color that was not present uh, in our spectrum of visible light here on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I lived out an entire life, and with who I believe is my daughter now. She was my daughter then, and we were these other creatures in a community that was communicating telepathically, and there was no like voice or sound frequency in this realm. It was all light codes,
Mm-hmm.
and we were communicating by way of color with each other. And I awoke with a start, with a I mean, I was sweating when I awoke because it was so profound, and it was but I had become immersed in an awareness, and I needed to take that nap for a very good reason, obviously. And it's that, you know, even just these moments of sleep, we discount this as not an important part of our work.
Yes, it's
That's
very
that,
important.
you know, prioritizing the divine masculine outward force energy higher than the divine feminine, a time to receive and a time to retreat.
Mm-hmm.
This is an important aspect of our work, because I would never have received those downloads had I not taken a much needed nap.
Isn't that unconditional love?
Unconditional love?
Yeah,
Tell me more.
giving yourself unconditional love. Yes,
Yes, of
and
course.
knowing that we are multidimensional beings. Yes, as you beautifully describe your experience. Yes, it is the experience in now. Yes, I wouldn't even call even a dream. It's your experience. It's your knowingness. It's your knowledge. It is you who is experiencing you in new dimension, perhaps. Yes, for some reason, it was the time for you to see it, to experience it. Yeah.
Right. And I was able to access that by way of the
Informations.
unconditional love that I was
Uh-huh.
tapping into. Absolutely. For
Yeah.
myself. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. With all those
Yeah.
light codes, yes, and downloads and this knowledge. And I call it unconditional love.
It's the primordial glue that is holding us all together.
Yes. Love. Yes.
Absolutely.
That's my, I would say, I wanted to say calling. It doesn't sound very much spiritual, right? But the love is calling on itself, and that's how I feel it.
Yeah,
Love is a
absolutely.
calling. Love is the calling. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
love is the calling.
I think it's what called us here in the first
I
place.
think so, Jenna.
Mm-hmm.
I'm super grateful for this conversation. Um,
It's been beautiful.
Jenna, I have as we are coming to the end, yes, what is, I mean, energizing, super powerful exploration, yes, of what you're doing, of your making, of your beautiful, beautiful aura, yes. I would like to ask you 4 questions, yes, on this show, on this podcast, I care. Is it okay with you?
Absolutely.
So, what is the meaning of life?
Ooh, we're going to need more than 6 minutes for that
Okay,
one.
okay, okay, no worries. 24/7, 24/7.
Let's see if we can scratch the surface here. The meaning of life. I think that we pretty well wrapped that up in the unconditional love sequence that we just embarked upon. Unconditional love. I think that this is oftentimes misinterpreted in our world that is hyper-focused on the divine masculine expression, in that, or it gets misconstrued as, you know, what love is, romantic love, or a mother's love for her children. Really, even it's all love, everything, even the tyranny and the torture and the worst sequences of human avatar interconnection and interaction that we can conceive of. This is an example of love out of balance. That's all it is. It's still love. If you reduce it down to the primordial energy, it's still love at the very essence and core of that expression. And I had an amazing chat with Harrison Marr. He's the author of Cosmic Love Antenna. You asked me to ask who I'm working with, and he's one example. But we had this discussion about ego that was profound for me, and how ego is truly just an expression. Whenever we encounter ego, whether it's, you know, in the 3D world, at the grocery store, or if we encounter it in the virtual space, it's prevalent everywhere. We can see it in all places. But whenever we encounter, say, for example, a self-righteous ego, someone who believes says they are better than, or that they are trying to convince you that they are more than you. And what this is it's an inflamed personality of, at somewhere, somehow along the way, this person was told that they do not have something worthy to share with this world. And so what they are doing in this inflamed personality sequence of it being reflected and portrayed as ego, this is an experience that they are having, that they are giving us also as mirrored reflections of each other, that they are convincing themselves, and they are doing their best to convince you that they do have something worthy to share in this world. And they do, actually. Everyone does. Everyone who is here on planet Earth is here for a good reason. I heard someone say that there's a waiting list for incarnations here on planet Earth. And if you made the cut, you have something very valuable to share here. But in that sequence of believing in himself that he is not worthy of something valuable to share with this world, you know, it's that love out of balance. You see that the transmutational process of bringing that love back into balance, it's going to come from our reflective interactions with one another, of becoming triggered and becoming angry or becoming hurt. And these are powerful transformative catalysts for all of us to engage in. And as soon as we're able to tap into that, rather than something that's here to torment us, it's here to help us transform. And this, I believe, is the purpose of life on this planet. And that's why we're here.
Next question. What is God for you?
Ooh, God. I would say God is, yeah, God has a triggering notion for me, that word God. I mean, I grew up down here in the deep south of the southern United States, and my family, we would become triggered when people would try to talk to us about God, right?
Mhm.
Because a lot of people are very religious down here. There's the evangelical Christianity that is, you know, it's prevalent, it's prominent. If you're not a part of those communities, then you are kind of rejected as an outlier of what the collective here deems as truth. See? But I as I moved through school and I learned about, you know, Eastern Asian religions and the Buddha and the pantheon of gods in Hinduism, and I moved into other realms even. I know how the archangels are so very important, and they are, I feel as though these entities that are that they are present in these other realms, not here in the 3D. They could venture here, but why would they, right? This is our experience, and if we tap into what it is we are intended to glean from this experience, we can easily tap into those other realms where they reside. But God, I would say God or spirit or the universe. I always liked Jonathan Adam Pant's reference to the creative spirit. This is synonymous to God with me. And it's also synonymous to what we were referring to as unconditional love, universal love. And it's in everything. It is everything, and everything. It's like it is the sun, and each one of us is an individual ray. We are comprised of totally of that, but not one ray comprises totally the whole sun.
I care. ... Fill the gap, please.
Fill the gap of I care.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. I care for human avatar experiences in the way that they are opening up portals and realms for myself and for illusory others, because we are all one, to dive deep into the understanding of what it is we are here to do for ourselves, and in how it is that thing, whatever it is, whatever our calling, our purpose, our divine life pursuit, it's how it's going to illuminate for others so much as we walk that path. I care very deeply about that.
And the last one, where people can find more about you, about your work, about your offerings, services, about you.
Oh man, you can find me in all sorts of places. I'm kind of all over the place. I would ask that they subscribe to my YouTube channel, ZenJen Queen of Sync. I'm having amazing conversations with other human avatars like yourself, Alexandra, and I'd love for you to appear there with me if you felt so called. I'm also engaging in my own innerscape understandings through poetry and in, you know, just all of the different avenues of exploration, extrasensory and otherwise, that speak to me in a deep way. And so I would call for anyone who aims to intersect more with my human avatar path to subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow the breadcrumbs from there.
That's beautiful. So everyone who listen, who are watching, thank you so very much for being here with us, to joining this conversation of everything, of avatars. Where are we going to? How to support each other, and how to support ourselves, as the self is the moment in the avatar life on Earth. If you have any questions to Jenna, please contact her. She is really extremely supportive, very open-hearted, very open-minded person. And with her experience, maybe your life journey, maybe your marketing abilities can grow and experience new life for yourself with a little bit of help. And may I ask you, what was the experience for you? What was the wisdom, maybe, which resonates with you in this moment? Have you learned something? Leave it in comment. And let's say that the next time, I mean next moment, when we can only be the avatar, not from the movie, but in the real life. Let this moment of cooperation, of unconditional love in many dimensions be I care for the future and for now. Jenna, dear, thank you so very much for opening your heart. Thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for your experience. Thank you for your time and your loving aura, which was shared and felt deeply in my heart. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Alexandra. It was such a pleasure.
Thank you.